Welcome back to another episode of Local Search Tuesdays. This week I'm sharing my slides from my recent presentation at YoastCon in the Netherlands. YoastCon is a kick-ass conference in the Netherlands put on by the team from Yoast, the best SEO plugin out there for WordPress sites. It's an invite-only speaking gig, so I was lucky enough to be chosen this year. And as always, I'm sharing my presentation with you here. This is Batman's tactical guide to superhero level local SEO. You know who I am because you're watching this on my video series, but for those of you who are catching this on social or haven't seen it before, this is an episode of Local Search Tuesdays, which comes out every Tuesday. Shocking, right? You can see it at the blog right there or follow us on socials to get links. And here's a crazy picture of me speaking at YoastCon a few years back. I'm lucky enough to get to speak at a lot of conferences all over the planet. And because of that, sometimes I see some presenters who may have some great info to share, but maybe aren't the best at speaking publicly. So they'll typically stand locked behind the podium with their back to the crowd because they're reading their own slides. In the background of the slides, just plain white, no graphics, no design, black Arial font, and every slide is packed with bullet points. And they just sit and read bullet points. And it's a scientifically proven fact that bullet points kill kittens. So we're going to keep all the kitties safe today and not have any bullet points. And you saw the Batman reference there at the beginning. As always, I love to share my love of movies with my love of digital marketing. So there's always a theme. Today's theme is obviously superhero movies. We have 103 references to superhero movies, with at least one movie for every year in the last 50 years. If you haven't seen the movie, there is attribution to the side, so you'll have a kick-ass list of movies to watch later, besides learning a lot about local SEO. So let's get it going. Why the long face? Are you spending too much time looking up at competitors that rank higher in local searches? You don't have to have a huge brain to succeed when it comes to local SEO, even though a lot of the times it seems like the things you're doing might be a bunch of magic or voodoo. It's really not. If you know what you're doing, you could really succeed. So today I'm sharing some hot tips with you so you'll be able to crush your competitors and kick ass in the search results. It's important to realize that Google's local algorithm weights the factors differently, and it includes some additional signals that you don't have to worry about when you're doing traditional SEO. So that means you need different strategies if you're going to optimize for better local visibility. So how do you know if you need to optimize for the local algorithm and use local SEO? It's pretty easy. If you do face-to-face business with customers, either at a brick and mortar location or at the customer's location, like a plumber or an electrician, then you need local SEO. And sometimes you may not think you need it, but you should check because certain e-commerce queries do pull local intent. So do a search for a couple of your most important money keywords. And if you see a map pack, that means Google says that query often has local intent and you need to be doing local SEO. It's really important to pay attention to the annual local search ranking factor study. No one really knows exactly what's in Google's algorithm, but if you took the best SEOs in the world and had them all optimize a site, while they might do it differently, they would all touch the same elements. And that's the thought process behind this study. They take the top 40-ish experts in local search across the planet, send a really in-depth survey about positive factors, negative factors, foundational factors, competitive factors, etc., and then you aggregate the answers and get a pretty good handle on which things are going to influence visibility in searches. So the results that I'm about to show you were just released at the end of March, and you get two pie charts. The first shows you the factors that influence your visibility in Google Maps or in the map pack. And the second chart shows you the factors that influence your visibility in the organic results below the map pack. The LeSurf is basically your guide to which signals matter the most for local visibility. So it's really important to pay attention every year when the updated information is released. I like to boil things down to simple concepts. And the easiest way to understand how the local algorithm influences search results based on the location of the person doing the search and their proximity to the results. Pizza delivery is a really great way to illustrate how this works. So watch the video, it explains everything, but quickly, if you're sitting at your location in your office, You search 2 words, pizza delivery, you get a list of all the pizza spots that are right there by your office. But then you could go home and search for the same 2 words, pizza delivery, at home, and you'd get a completely different set of search results. Now, in traditional SEO, that's not possible. If you rank number 1, you rank number 1. But with local SEO, this really illustrates how location really influences the search results that you see. And remember, when you're optimizing for the local algorithm or even for the traditional algorithm, that SEO is more than just optimizing content and putting keywords in a couple of places. It's also about optimizing the user experience and optimizing for conversion, because we know that people are going to shop around before they submit a lead or before they buy. And especially if you skew towards the higher end of expense, more research is going to occur before you get that lead. So you need to make sure that you're standing out from competitors and that you're appealing and that you're memorable. You got to give people a reason to come back to your website. Because if you've got the same generic content as all the competitors in town, why is anybody going to care? Why is anybody going to choose to buy from you? So make sure that your content proves to everyone why you're stinking awesome and why they shouldn't consider buying from anyone else. And make sure that your content is actually about your business, truly about what's unique and why you're amazing. And make sure the content is about the local area. And there's an easy way to test this. Take your homepage content or your About Us page content and change only 2 things: your business name every time it appears and the city that you're in every time it appears. Could you take that same homepage content and throw it on the homepage of a similar business on the other side of the country? Would that content still work? If it would, that means it wasn't really about you or about the local area. You can also test your content by reading it out loud, because everything that's on your site should be conversational. It should sound like something that you would say face to face to a customer that just walked in the front door. You tend to have blinders on because you're on your site all the time. You know exactly what's there, and you've got your marketing blinders on, and you see keywords and think that that's great for SEO, but you don't catch that it's not really conversational content. So when you physically read it out loud, grab another person, have them stand next to you, read it out loud to them, you'll catch the things that sound awkward and aren't conversational. And it's a really great way to do a down and dirty quick test of your content. A really simple concept that you need to be sure to remember whenever you're thinking about SEO. If you want to show as a search result, whenever someone types in a particular keyword phrase, you need a page of content on your website that's about that singular concept. And that page doesn't need to be the best answer on the entire internet. It just needs to be the best answer in your local area to the question that you're answering. And if you're writing the best answer, you're probably going to answer some of the subsequent questions that that potential customer might have once they have read that initial answer. So that's how you write really amazing content. And then once you've written your amazing content, you've got to optimize it. And because we're optimizing for the local algorithm, you need to optimize differently. So I'm going to run you through the page elements that you need to optimize. Every time I say keyword, it's the same keyword phrase, and city, same city phrase. You don't want to mix these up between elements on the same page. So the most important element is the title tag. It's what shows above where you type in the URL in the little tab. And it's typically what influences the blue link when you show as a search result in Google search results. So you want to have your keyword phrase and your city. You don't want to put your business name at the beginning of the title tag. You're the only business name that. You're always going to rank number 1 for that. So don't waste valuable optimization space. The second most important element on the page is your H1 heading, the big thick headline at the top of the text area of the page. You should only have one H1 on the page. It should be a little bit more conversational than the title tag and have the same keyword phrase and city. You should also obviously have it in your page content, but if you've written the best answer in the local area that answers subsequent questions, it's all about you and all about the local area, you're probably not going to have to optimize much here. Image alt text is another important area. Now, years ago, Google couldn't tell what was in images, so alt text is a little descriptor in the image embed code that describes the image. But now Google can tell exactly what's in an image with machine learning algorithms, but alt text is still part of the algorithm, and it's a great way to outpace your competition because most people don't do anything with alt text. And then the URL is important as well. Now, I'm not telling you to go add the keyword and city into URLs for pages that have already been indexed. Once a page has been indexed, doesn't really matter. But as you create new content moving forward, keep in mind, you want to include that keyword and location phrase in the URL. And you should also include the keyword and location in the meta description. The meta description is behind the scenes, so it doesn't show on the page, and it doesn't matter for ranking purposes, but it does populate those couple of gray sentences underneath your blue link when you show as a search result. So you want to approach it like writing an ad and create something compelling to help you get more click-throughs to your website. You've also got to have a blog in today's world. It is not a luxury, it's a necessity, and you need to post on a regular basis because there's a difference between the kind of content that goes on the main section of your site and the kind of content that goes on your blog. Main website content is bottom of funnel content. Blog content is mid to upper funnel content. In fact, if you make your blog a local destination and share helpful, useful, interesting information about the local area, that's actually pre-funnel content because you'll show up in searches for people that aren't looking to buy what you're selling, but they'll get exposure to you, kind of like putting a billboard up on the side of the highway. So if you need ideas for how to write these local informational posts, I've got an awesome video here that walks you through 10 different concepts that you can use as a springboard to figure out your own strategy, your own topics, your own tactics for what you want to write about the local area. And everyone always wants to expand and show up in nearby cities. But before you try to do that, you've got to own your backyard. And what I mean by that is you've got to have good enough signals, a solid enough optimization strategy that you're doing really well in searches in the city where you're actually located. Because once you move to nearby cities, you no longer have that location and proximity factor. And it's going to be really hard to beat the guys in the nearby cities if you can't even beat people in your own town. So own your backyard first. And then when you're ready to move on and try to expand, if you're in a less competitive area or just it's a pretty rural area, then you can just create some city pages to expand your reach. But if you're in a more competitive region or just a dense metro area, you're going to need to be more advanced and use local content silos. So watch this video. It walks you through how to do that. And when you're optimizing your links for your website and doing link building, you need to approach links differently because the algorithm looks at links differently. We don't care about authority. Domain authority is a complete BS metric that doesn't mean anything to Google's algorithm, especially in local, because if you run those really powerful local links through a link tool, they're going to appear to be low authority links. And we also don't care if it's a no follow link. It's been proven time and time again that no follow links still move the needle when it comes to local SEO. So what you really want to do is concentrate on getting local links from local businesses, local websites. And if you're involved in the local community, it's really easy to get local links. I'm going to run you through a couple of tactics that you can use here. The first is local sponsorships. Obviously, you can't buy links because that's against Google's terms and you don't want to go against guidelines and get in trouble, but you can buy sponsorships that result in links. So Little League, Pee Wee football, Pee Wee hockey, 5Ks, marathons, golf tournaments, anything like that, definitely go knock those out. They're pretty inexpensive and they get you some awesome local links. You can use a site like meetup.com to look for groups in the area that have regular monthly meetings that are looking for meeting sponsors, and you throw in $50-$60 a month to buy their snacks and their soft drinks, as long as they give you a link. Find any way you can to get local bloggers to write about you, even if the blog post says, I got a free widget for writing about this widget company. Who cares? You get an awesome local link. Talk to your staff about what they do in their free time. What are they passionate about? What do they spend time doing? If they're really involved in a local club or organization, especially if they're on the leadership group of that club or organization, it's going to be pretty darn easy to get a link from that organization's website. You can also use Google to do your work for you. Come up with your own seed list of keywords, throw your city name in, and boom, Google's going to spit out a really awesome list of link opportunities. I'm also sharing our onboarding questionnaire that we send to new clients that we work with. It's all about link building. You can throw your own logo on it, use it for yourself. It's really great at kind of classifying some low-hanging fruit opportunities where you can get some links pretty quickly based on things that have already happened in the past. We also need to think about reviews when we're doing local SEO because they're really weighted in Google's local algorithm. And in fact, they've gained weight, gained more importance in the algorithm every year for the last few years. A lot of people think they're okay because they've got a testimonials page on their site, but your testimonials page is actually worthless because people want to read honest, unbiased reviews on third-party websites, which means you've got to be proactive. You've got to have a really proactive reputation management process in place if you want to win with customer reviews. Watch this video for sure. It walks through all the steps, but a couple of important points. Most importantly, you've got to ask every single customer to leave you a review, and you've got to make that a simple process. Don't expect that people know where to go. And you want to make sure that you answer every single review that you get. This is where a lot of businesses screw up. They'll only answer the positive reviews, or they'll only answer the negative reviews. It's very rare that businesses answer every single review that comes in, and that's incredibly important. And remember, when you're responding to those bad reviews, you're not really responding to the person that left the review because you should be dealing with them offline. You should have their information. Those responses are really for all of the future potential customers that are going to check out your bad reviews, and they want to see how you dealt with that situation. And when you're trying to get more reviews, remember that it doesn't really matter how many reviews you have. It just matters that you have more reviews than the local competition. So when you're acquiring new reviews, you have to tread a kind of razor's edge and be really careful that you're acquiring reviews at a pace that is equal to or slightly faster than your local competition. And some really cool new review tips that I'm going to share with you today based on some recent research that's come to light. If a review includes a photo, it's going to stay in that default sort of the default top 10 reviews for a lot longer period of time. And if a review includes more text, if it's a longer review, it's going to stay in that default top 10 longer as well. Now, this is a little bit tougher because happy people don't write long reviews, but pissed off people definitely will write a novel. And then reviews can get thumbs up or upvotes. So if a review has 2 or more upvotes, it's going to stay in that default top 10 for a longer period of time. So let's throw all those together for a super duper awesome strategy. If you get a bad review, and that bad review for whatever reason is sticking in that default sort of reviews that you see whenever you first go to your Google business profile, you can bury it quickly by adding all 3 of those tactics. So find someone that has recently left you a positive review, ask them to add more text to their review and to add a photo to it. And then once they've done so, then just have a couple of people on your team go give a thumbs up to that review, and it will jump right to the top and it will stay there longer. So you can do that a couple of times and bury those bad reviews. Let's finish up talking about your Google business profile because it's your new homepage. It's the first impression that you make with potential customers because they can get so much information about your business from your business profile without ever even going to your website. And a properly optimized GBP allows you to show well in those map pack search results. So you want to make sure you fill out everything except for the service areas field. That doesn't really do anything. You want to make sure you're adding UTM tracking to your website links because attribution tends to break sometimes, especially on mobile devices where they're not passing referral information to Google Analytics. So watch the video that walks you through how to do that. Make sure that the landing page of your GBP, which is whatever page you're linking to. So for single location businesses, that's going to be your homepage. If it's a multi-location business with a single website, that's going to be your individual location pages. But make sure that landing page is optimized for your most important money keyword and whichever city that you're in. Make sure you've got your correct hours listed. Make sure you're uploading a lot of high quality photos. Professionally shot photos work better here. Make sure you're selecting all of the correct appropriate categories. There are 10 slots there. It doesn't mean you have to use all 10. Just use the ones that are appropriate, but be strategic with which category you're choosing first. Your primary category is more weighted in the algorithm and has a lot of influence on the searches that you're going to show up for. So be really strategic. Watch this video. It walks you through that. If you ever have problems with your business profile, you really don't want to rely on GBP support. It kind of sucks. They have to follow a script. If it's something really wonky, sometimes they're not even going to be able to help you. So instead, you want to go post on the Google Business Profile community forum. It's staffed by volunteers. But once a volunteer has answered questions consistently and well, they get invited to be in the product expert program. So they get a little badge. That means they've been endorsed by Google to know what they're talking about. Those product experts will jump in and help you really quickly. And a lot of times they have specific areas that they have more expertise in. So you're more likely to get help for the more random issues that could pop up. So you can go to the forum right there, just create a new thread, and those product experts will be able to help you. You want to make sure you're using Google Posts so that you can stand out from the competition and get more click-throughs. Here's a link to a Whiteboard Friday video that I did for Moz a few years ago. It's about 15 minutes of densely packed information on how to be successful with posts. But honestly, the most important secret to success with Google Posts is paying attention to what shows in the post thumbnail, because it's going to crop in on your image automatically, and it's going to truncate your text and only show a few lines of text. If that's not compelling, nobody's going to click and see the content of your full post. But because that cropping is super inconsistent and a little bit wonky, it's tough to control what shows up there. So we've made a Photoshop guide that will help you understand more about what's going to actually show up. So you can download the guide at the link right there. It looks like this. Anything in that white grid is what's considered to be safe. It's going to show in the thumbnail, and then everything else will appear once they click the thumbnail and see the full post. You make sure, too, that you don't use stock images. A lot of research has been done that shows that posts that have original images get up to 5 times more click-throughs. Pay attention to the questions and answers widget as well. It's been around for 5 or 6 years now. It allows anyone to ask you a question, and any random person in the community can answer the question for you. The problem is that the general public thinks that the Q&A section is a chat widget or a direct instant messaging system, but it's not. It's a community discussion widget. And questions can receive multiple answers, but only one answer is displayed unless you click the link to read more answers. And that primary answer is decided by whichever answer has the most thumbs up. So you want to make sure that you're upvoting all of your answers so that your business owner answers are selected and displayed as the primary answer. You can even upload your own questions. Ask yourself questions, answer those common questions. Set up a pre-site FAQ. Nobody's going to go to an FAQ page on your site and read through the 40 questions to see if their question is there and maybe has an answer, but they will go to the Q&A widget and type a question in. And the really important thing here is you want to upload your own questions and answer all those questions, because if a similar question has been asked and answered, when someone is typing that question in, Google will auto display an answer to the question. And that's an amazing pre-site FAQ experience. One last cool thing, we've got a local SEO scoring matrix that we use when we talk to potential clients at conferences or when we talk to potential clients on demo calls. It's basically a mini audit that scores the 4 major areas that influence local search visibility, which is the content on your site, how it's optimized, the links pointed at your site, your Google business profile, and your reviews on Google and Yelp and how you respond to those reviews. It's important to note that this scores on tactics, not on strategy. Most people use those terms interchangeably, but strategy is the direction you're going, and tactics are the steps that you take to get there. The reason that we keep it basic on the tactical side is because if a potential client or somebody that we talked to at a conference was going to take this back and talk to their current SEO vendor, and it was too much on the strategic side, then that vendor could pretty easily say, hey, that's their way of doing SEO. Our way is different. Just ignore it. Ours is better. But when it's basic tactics that anyone that knows SEO would agree are important to handle, then you can't really refute the results of the scoring matrix. Now, this was a huge game changer for us. We more than doubled the close rate for demos that we did with potential clients by using this. So those 4 areas are weighted so that each area has more of an approximation of how important that area is to Google's local algorithm. And then you get a total score ranging anywhere from 0 to 100 points. The highest score that we saw was an 83.6, because it's pretty close to impossible to get a perfect 100 points. The lowest, or that was also a high score from a client that we work with. So of course it's going to be a high score. The highest non-client score was just a 65. So realistically, as long as you're in the mid 60s or above, you're probably doing pretty well. But certain things can deduct points because they're really not great for your optimization strategy. In fact, they could be hurting your visibility. So the lowest score that we saw was a negative 58. And the average that we see is only an 18 out of a possible 100 points. So I wanted to share the matrix with you so that you could see how we built it and how the scores all work together. So you can download the generic version there, which will work for any local business. And then we've also created a version specifically for car dealers. So you could go check that one out and see how we adjusted it to look at things that are specific to that vertical. The matrix is really great at pointing out really obvious low-hanging fruit and opportunities for improving local SEO. And it's also a great guide for your own internal team for that initial swing through optimizing the website when you get a new client. Now, I know that was a lot and I sped through it really quickly. Thank you so much for sitting through that absolute fire hose. Hopefully now when you're thinking about local SEO, you're not going to be down and depressed because you'll be able to use all of those hot tips to take your site from being an underdog to being really awesome in search results and making everyone happy. Thanks so much for watching Batman's Tactical Guide to Superhero Level Local SEO. There's my email address if you have any questions. You can always email me and I will always try to help. And if you'd like a copy of the slides, you can email me as well, because like always, there's a list of all the movies by order of release date at the end of the slides. Thanks so much. Thanks for sticking around to watch the whole presentation. That's definitely all the time we've got left for this week's episode, so you know what that means. Put your hand on the screen right here. We totally just high-fived because you learned something awesome. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week for another episode of Local Search Tuesdays.